So next we're going to look at nutrition strategies for altering body composition. So in reference to both gaining and losing weight and how we can kind of manipulate our diet in order to do that. So first we're going to be looking at, because again, your weight is going to be based upon your energy requirements. So again, energy is going to be measured in kilocalories or just calories to kind of look at it. And then your caloric requirement is defined as the energy intake equal to expenditure, resulting in a constant body weight. So basically, if you take in the same amount of calories as you expend, you maintain your body weight. So what we're going to do is talk about both healthy ways to both gain and lose weight, as far as, an individual who would either need to gain lean mass for athletic purposes, or would have to go about losing weight in a healthy manner. So the energy requirements, there's basically going to be three things that kind of influence your energy requirements. One is your resting metabolic rate. So that's essentially how many calories you just burn at rest. So literally, if you didn't do any type of physical activity all day, what your body would burn just from your organs and everything kind of functioning throughout the day. You have the thermic effect of food. So from the food you eat, it takes your body energy in order to process the food you eat. And then you have your physical activity. And all of that kind of makes up your energy requirements. And again, however many calories that would be, if you equal that with your intake, you maintain your body weight. If you take in a deficit, you lose weight. If you take in a surplus, you gain weight. And again, we'll mention, what that rate of either weight gain or weight loss would be. So again, continuing to look at this, so you'd have to estimate your energy requirements, particularly based off of physical activity. And on the next slide, I'm going to show just a table that I took out of the textbook that I utilized to create this lecture. And again, probably the best way that anybody could do this, particularly athletes, is use a food diary. So when you find that your weight, if you're monitoring your body weight, when you kind of see that it kind of is stable, look at your food diary to see what you've taken in. And then this way here, that kind of really gives you the best estimate in as far as what your body would need to just maintain your weight. And then off of that, you could kind of determine what you would need as far as weight gain and weight loss is concerned. So here's the table. So what this tells you is that your estimated daily calorie needs of a male and female athlete by activity level. And there's all sorts of reference points for this. There's all sorts of equations that people use. This is just one example. So you could see based upon whether the activity is light, moderate, or heavy, what a male versus what a female would need as far as the calories per pound. So they would just take their current body weight, and then that would kind of tell them based on their activity level. And they reference here what, light, moderate, and heavy activity would be. And then again, that would be a framework for you to kind of estimate your calories. So your nutrition strategies for weight gain. So again, the off season is a good time to focus on gaining weight, just because that's when you're going to be doing the bulk of your training and everything. So for instance, in conjunction with a strength training routine is really the best way to gain healthy lean tissue. Again, you want to consume an additional 500 calories per day is approximately where you want to start. And again, you kind of weigh yourself to see where you would be at. You want to make sure you're getting enough protein to maximize gains in lean body mass. So around 1.5 to 2 kilograms grams per kilogram of body weight per day. And then from there, once you figure this out, so you could figure out your calories and protein, then again, you could fill in the rest with the carbohydrates you need, and then the fats you would need to kind of finish off your macronutrients. And again, you could seek an individual could seek assistance with this if there's someone on your sports medicine staff who does have a nutrition background. Many teams do hire sports dietitians, or sometimes sports medicine staffs will have a sport dietitian that they use sometimes to refer people to as well. But again, about 500 additional extra calories per day. And again, you could divide that up by proteins, carbohydrates, and fats once you kind of determine what your protein requirements are. So in looking at weight loss, one thing to note, because there's all sorts of popular weight loss diets, so they actually found that for the most part, there's no real difference in the amount of weight loss on a low carbohydrate as opposed to a low fat diet. What you want to make sure is that there is going to be weight loss that comes from muscle. However, you want to minimize that as much as you can. Okay. So with the caloric restriction, you are going to see a slight decrease in muscle mass, but you want to limit that as best you can. And basically the way to essentially do that now, so you're going to be in a 500 calorie deficit at this point. So the objective would be is to get a little bit more protein, so about 1.8 to 2.7 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, because the added protein is just going to help to prevent any loss in weight or a significant loss in weight from lean tissue. So again, that could be your starting point. And again, weigh yourself. Again, you should be only losing about 1 to 2 pounds per week to make sure that you're trying to, again, get most of that weight loss from body fat. And again, a key point, so there's no one ideal diet. I mean, even the references I'm giving you here, as far the reference points rather, as far as like number of calories and everything, again, you could play around with different, percentages of macronutrients. But again, the idea is make sure they're getting enough protein regardless. So they're going to need protein if they're going to need adequate amounts of protein to gain weight. You're also going to need it to make sure that if you are going into a caloric deficit or need to go into caloric deficit, that they're still being able to maintain their lean muscle mass. So, and again, healthy, maintaining a healthy body weight, healthy weight gain, healthy weight loss. We look at, because we know there's obviously a lot of health concerns related to being overweight or obese. And again, our reference point as far as for body mass index for overweight would be 25 to 29.9 as far as your BMI for being overweight, and greater or equal to 30 if you're obese. Now, again, one thing to note with BMI, and I mention this a little bit later on when I talk about body mass index, obviously for a lot of active individuals, the BMI does not take into consideration your lean body mass. It doesn't take into consideration lean body mass versus fat mass. So many times individuals, particularly those who participate in strength training, can have a higher BMI. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're obese or overweight. Based on BMI measures, they might be, but it doesn't mean that they are. So again, that's the type of person you'd want to do, for instance, like actual body composition measurements, body fat measurements to see where they're at. So again, just the health issues associated with being overweight or obese, and I don't think any of these come to any surprise. So again, a lot of things with the cardiovascular, respiratory system, endocrine disorders because of the issues with your hormones that do get basically messed up from being overweight. So you can see here hypertension, dyslipidemia, coronary artery disease, gallbladder disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, respiratory problems, and then various types of cancer individuals can be predisposed to if they are overweight or obese. And again, if someone, as far as looking at people that are overweight or obese, their initial goal for weight loss in overweight and obese people should be about 10% of their initial weight within 6 months. So again, you don't want to have obviously any type of crash dieting or anything like that. Again, you're trying to sustain a healthy lifestyle. So it's really important to make sure that the weight loss is still very gradual. I had mentioned body mass index earlier. Basically, it's used as a general assessment, but again, it's a measure of weight. It doesn't distinguish between fat and lean tissue or bone mass for that matter. So again, you have to take that into consideration when you're using it. And basically, you can calculate it either one of two ways. You take either a person's weight in kilograms, divide it by their height in meters, or you take their weight in pounds, divide it by their height in inches squared, and you multiply that by 703. Either way, you will get your BMI. So again, a key point, so body mass index should not be used as a diagnostic tool, but instead as an initial screening tool. And again, you have to take into consideration that it does not take into account an individual's lean body tissue. So looking at rapid weight loss, so we had talked about healthy ways in order to lose weight, whether it be for someone who already is kind of active or if someone is extremely overweight or obese. Again, there can be a lot of unhealthy ways to do this, and this could be either brought on by just a desired weight class, or they get pressured by a coach to improve performance. And again, really, weight loss isn't necessarily going to be a direct correlation with performance in a lot of instances. So that should be something that should be noted. And there's a lot of health issues related to rapid weight loss, particularly through unhealthy weight loss practices. So again, some of the more dangerous weight loss techniques here. And you could see a lot of this centers around even a lot of the disordered eating or eating disorders that an individual would have. So fasting, voluntary dehydration, fad diets. And again, these are all things that are really going to inhibit performance, particularly when you get into the voluntary dehydration. This gets very dangerous in as far as, again, even going beyond the performance decrements that somebody would have, but just the health-related concerns that could come out of any one of these dangerous practices. And again, these are just some of the health concerns that could start to happen. Again, you could be talking something very mild, like muscle cramps, or maybe just experiencing a little bit of fatigue, all the way to extreme heat illness because of dehydration. And then again, here you go, suppressed immune function. I mean, here we start to look at significant issues as it relates to, again, the cardiovascular system. We look at the endocrine system. Again, you see here you can also possibly, from things like diuretic abuse, you could have kidney failure. So again, a lot of very significant health issues. So again, this should be a part of your education to athletes when we talk about healthy weight loss and healthy weight gain. Again, you want to make sure that you're doing it in a healthy manner to make sure that the health and well-being of the individual is being the primary concern. And these are all of your chapter objectives. So I'm just going to cycle through these. Again, the whole purpose of this was to just give a general background. Again, as athletic trainers, we're not dietitians, but again, you should be able to serve as a resource. And again, many instances there'll be individuals who you could refer athletes to for further help if they would really need it.